That's you meeting you here.
Hi, everybody. We're just getting settled in the room and then we'll get started. So give us a few more seconds or so.
All right, welcome to the January 15th meeting of the Commission on Aging. We'll call the meeting to order. We have established a quorum, and I will call for introductions. We have some guests online and in the room, and so Kent, we'll start with you.
How soon they forget. Kent Matthews, citizen of El Paso County, former employee here at the Area Agency on Aging, and a board member for A Place Like Home and Voices of Grief.
Turn it off. Hi, Phil Stafford, also a board member for A Place Like Home, El Paso County, in my own company, Independent Home Living, as well as Next Day Access, doing home modifications.
That one. Thank you. Penny Whitney, Commissioner, also representing the Colorado Commission on Aging, and a local project called JAWS, Jumpstart Aging Workforce Solutions, focusing on introducing long-term care career opportunities to high school students and older adults.
Melissa Martz with the Pikes Peak Area Agency on Aging.
Wanda Wood, guest. Carolyn Kasdan, I'm a nursing home administrator and board certified patient advocate.
We'll go online. Deidre?
Good afternoon, Deetra Duncan, Fountain City Council at Large.
Good afternoon, everybody. Steve Schleicher, El Paso County Clerk and Recorder.
Good
about-
afternoon, Laura Chronic, Councilmember Town of Monument.
And Penny from Park County. Want to introduce
Penny,
yourself?
Yes, Executive Director of Park County Senior Coalition and also a Commissioner on Aging.
You're Kathy Smith.
Hi, I'm Kathy Smith. I'm a citizen of El Paso. That's pretty much it.
And I'm Paula Levy. I'm the chair on the Commission on Aging. I have my Never Alone Caregiver Consulting business and am trying to launch a Place Like Home adult day program for our community. Now I need a motion for the agenda approval for this meeting. Is there a motion to approve today's meeting agenda?
I would so motion. This is
Thank you.
Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy. Is there a second?
This is Steve. I second.
Steve, you can't second yet. You're not voted in just yet. But do I have a second from,
I'll second.
thank you, Phil. Is there any opposed? I'm hearing none. The meeting has been, the agenda has been approved as written. Next, do we approve the minutes from the last meeting? I don't see. Is that correct, Jared? So next we're going to approve the minutes as written from our December meeting. They were sent out in our packet. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes as written? Penny, thank you. Penny Whitney has motion to approve those minutes. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Phil. Any opposed to those minutes as written? Hearing none, those minutes have been approved as written. Next, we're going to consent items.
Madam Chair, those are the minutes.
Oh, those were the minutes. Sorry. Thank you. I'm used to listening to city council meetings. Sorry about that. Okay, so now we're on public comment presentations. And it doesn't look like we have any. Melissa, have you? No? Jared, did you hear of any?
Madam Chair, we did not receive any advance requests for public comment. I'll just ask those who are online or those those individuals in the room who are not members of the commission to indicate using the raise hand function online or in person, doing the same thing, raising their hand. But I don't see any hands raised. I don't see anybody rushing the microphones. So I think we can proceed to the next item at your discretion.
Okay, great. I'd just like to welcome our guests and glad you could join us for this afternoon's meeting. And we'll move on to item number 5, action items. And we are looking at our 2025 officer elections. And Melissa, would you like to lead that?
I will. Normally, our membership chair, who is Erin, would be facilitating this, but she is traveling right now. So I'm going to jump in and mention to our commissioners who are here today that we are putting forth Paula for another year as the chair. And then Kathy Cirillo Smith is interested in being the vice chair and then potentially moving into the chair role in a year. And so at this point, we're putting forth Paula as chair, Kathy as vice chair. We can open that up to other commissioners who might want to say that they would be interested as well in one of those positions, and we can entertain that if we have commissioners who are interested in being chair or vice chair. But if I don't hear others being interested, I'm going to give it a second.
And please don't be shy.
So I will go ahead and put it forth as a motion for Paula as chair, Kathy as vice chair, and go ahead.
So just a clarification, Melissa, since you're not
I
a
know.
voting member,
Yeah, I know. So
someone else would have to make that motion.
So I'm going to look to Penny and ask Penny to make the motion for us, if that would be okay. Thank you.
Perfect. I move that we identify Paula Levy and Kathy Smith as the chair of Pikes Peak Commission on Aging.
I'll second that. Phil Stafford.
Is there any opposed? Hearing none. That election passes.
And so the next item, Madam Chair, is an opportunity for you to appoint Aaron. And then we're, of course, are going to discuss policy chair kind of role in a little bit. But if you want to go ahead, even though Aaron is not here today, you can still do that if you would like.
Yes, I would like to go ahead and appoint Erin as the membership chair. And at our last executive committee meeting where she was present, she did agree to carrying that on. So I feel comfortable doing that. Okay. Next.
Start this off for commissioners. We do have some quite a few guests who are in process of looking at membership. We have 3 people who have been appointed by El Paso County who have joined us today, which is great. And their appointments will run through the PPACG board at the beginning of February, and then you guys will officially be on with us. So thank you for the for Steve, Carolyn, and Wanda. And then we appreciate having Kent in the room today as a guest as well, who is interested in membership. So this is good to hear. And so along kind of the lines of our members, we have a policy committee. It's in our bylaws. And last year, one of our other commissioners, elected county commissioner from Park County, Amy Mitchell, tended to run the policy committee. She attended the PPACG policy committee that meets, and also the CCA group at the state level that meets quite frequently, and she would give reports out on what was discussed at those meetings. And, you know, ideally, we would want the policy committee to be more than just one person. But right now, we need one person to be interested in doing that. And then eventually, hopefully, there'll be more folks that are interested in policy as we continue to go forward. But basically, we are looking for an individual who wants to listen in on a weekly basis to the, and Jared, correct me if they're not meeting weekly, but I think they are, the PPACG Legislative Committee. Are they meeting weekly?
Right now they're starting every other week.
Every other week?
And then they'll go to weekly, then twice, and then, as the session picks up.
Yep. And so we're looking for somebody who's interested in attending that meeting. Jody Barker does attend it. Jared does attend it. But it's really nice to have somebody from the Commission on Aging sitting in and listening so that we hear input from our Commission on Aging membership and not from staff. So we would like that. But again, we do have Jody Barker and Jared who do sit in on those meetings. So, and then the CCA meetings are really informative. Some people I think in the room have attended the Colorado Commission on Aging. it's not the Colorado, what is CCA, guys? So it's a very informative group that meets regularly, and so attending that too. So just want to put that out there for people to think about, if they're not, already involved in some other things and would like to have an opportunity to learn some more information and bring that back to our group once a month. We need that input in order for the Commission on Aging to kind of be well informed and looking at kind of what we're doing. So, and Jared did put up on the screen the policy subcommittee, kind of the standing committees that we have as part of our bylaws, talking about ideally having a chairperson and 4 members. The purpose of the policy is to review policies and legislation related to things that are happening across the region, and then make recommendations to the commission, and then make recommendations to the PPACG board. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And that sounds really daunting in some ways, to review policy and legislation, but it's not too bad. So there's a lot of discussion that happens both at CCA and also at the PPACG legislative committee level. So there's a lot of information that gets shared, and then the chairperson for this committee can go out and do a little bit more digging and a little bit more research if they want, but there is a lot of information that's shared just by attending those 2 meetings. And it's good to bring it back to the commission, because then the commissioners can kind of talk about it as part of a agenda item here, to think about the pros and cons of what's happening with the legislation and policy, and have those conversations. So we are looking for someone to step into that role. So please think about it over the next month. Feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or want to know more. Tomorrow is a really great opportunity to kind of first get involved. I have a few people who have stepped up to want to listen in to the senior caucus that's happening tomorrow morning from 8 to 9. And then also participating and listening in with the State Commission on Aging, and, us kind of having a meeting a little bit later at 10:30. So good things happening tomorrow. I don't know, Jared, if you have anything to add to that policy committee. Paula, any other things to add to that?
I don't. Jared shaking his head no.
Okay, great. Well, I think that is it then. And we'll be kind of following up on this probably throughout the month, and then at our next meeting. So thank you all.
Great. Thanks, Melissa. All right. So membership committee update. Erin is not here. We do have Kent in the room, who is an interested individual. Like he said, he is a former employee of PPACG, Area Agency on Aging. And we spoke this morning about his role on the commission, and I invited him to attend the meeting just to see what we're up to. So Erin can touch base with him when she's back, and there's a application process and interview. So look forward to having you if you pass the rigorous application process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for the 3 people who've been appointed by the El Paso County Commissioners, I will be sending you a couple of dates to look at to do an orientation with the 3 of you guys. And my goal is to have everyone do it at the same time, because it's an opportunity for all 3 folks to kind of get to know each other. And it's much more effective and fun to do it with everybody than to just do it one-on-one. So stay tuned for some potential dates in the month of February for us to kind of do an orientation, and that will really help you guys kind of get a little bit more up to speed with some of the things we're talking about. You guys have been great attending, I think, maybe the last 2 meetings. I know you've been at some meetings. I can't. So anyway, so thanks for that to all 3 of you guys, Carolyn, Steve, and Wanda. But we will do an orientation and kind of give you more official paperwork to stick in a folder and have on hand for you. So I think that might be it for membership.
Okay, policy committee, the Colorado Center.
There's the CCA.
Yes, Colorado Center for Aging report. That was Amy Mitchell.
Yeah. And I don't know, did anybody happen to listen into that on Monday this week? I'm looking over at Penny and Phil, who knows if you did. Anyway, and I don't know if Kathy online did either, but I know I did not. So,
so no report there.
mm-mm.
And the legislative committee meets tomorrow. Is that correct? Or is
Nope, this is the PPAC one.
Oh,
Jared
okay.
or Jody gives the report
I was
out,
confused on the one that
is happening tomorrow.
Yeah, is that the one Penny attends?
Nope, that's the Commission on Aging.
They will meet tomorrow.
Penny, turn your mic on.
Goodness. The Colorado Commission on Aging is meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
And part of my role is to be a communication conduit between our group and the state group. Unfortunately, I will need to attend virtually tomorrow, but they will be meeting in joint session with the state AAAs. So that would be, if you're able to join virtually, that would be a very valuable meeting. At, I think, 7:30, beginning 8 to 9 is the caucus on aging. And I think, Melissa, are there 4 of those during the year, 3 or 4?
Yeah.
And they're actually held at the legislature. But hopefully there will be a link available so that anyone locally that would like to attend will be able to virtually attend. It all goes into the same information pot to be able to follow where the state is going in priority and focus, particularly for our interest for older individuals in our state. So getting in at the front end is probably a good thing, just to be able to have a context for understanding as things get busier. Policy and workforce and mental health are the 3 areas of focus for the State Commission on Aging. Those 3 working committees are open to anybody. So I would like to encourage you, if you have an interest in policy, Erin actually will be leading the policy group or the workforce group. The focus for the workforce group this year will be older workers. Karen Brown from Denver is leading that particular group. And then mental health is being led by Jim Kemmerly, who is from Northeast Colorado. And if you're interested, absolutely, we can get you meeting invites for all or any of those committees you would be interested in. Because it is important, I think, to have communication between what local areas are doing and the state areas.
Thank you, Penny. All right, Jared, we're ready for you.
Alrighty. Some of my thunder's already been taken, but that's perfectly okay. So right now, we're a week into the session. So we've got 113 days, 112, depending on how you're counting, of the General Assembly. 146 bills have already been introduced, which is actually, at least in my opinion, lower than I expected. And I included the notes from our lobbying folks, Bowditch and Castle. They were expecting about 200 to 300, which is kind of what I was expecting in the first week. So we're running lower than anticipated, which is not a terrible thing in my opinion. We are right now as PPCG, we are tracking 5 bills. One of, some I would say connected to aging, but a lot of them are primarily focused on transportation issues. One of them is on paratransit services. That one came out of the Transportation Legislative Review Committee. The other one that might be of interest, well, I should say this is a very specific aging bill, Senate Bill 13, Senior Housing Income Tax Credit Extension. I will say, and we're hearing this, while the budget picture is not as bad as forecasted originally, that was forecasted at about $1 billion shortfall. It's, like I said, not as bad. It's about a $600 to $700 million shortfall. But what that means is that if there's a fiscal note attached to anything, it's going to be really hard for that to move out of committee or make it to passage. So it's, if anything that has a fiscal note attached to it, will have to be a huge priority to make it across the finish line. So that's kind of the state side. As has been mentioned, the first Aging Caucus meeting is tomorrow morning. Breakfast at 7:30, program at 8. First of 4 for the legislative session. And then just awareness for this commission, PPACG is developing a federal lobbying program, or our federal advocacy program for the first time. The legislative committee looked at the initial priorities for that, similar to how we do state priorities on Monday, looking to probably finalize those either at the next meeting on the 27th or the meeting after that, which will be 2 weeks later, which will be the 10th of February. I've taken a look at about 200 of the federal bills of the ones that have been in there, primarily have been focused on wildfire, the ones that we would look at. But there have been 622 bills introduced at the federal level so far. Happy to answer any questions on the legislative.
Hey, Jared, can you go back up to the specialized transit one at the top, wherever that was?
Paratransit?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Just so that we could read kind of through that for a second.
And I will say, PPACG's position on these 5 bills is officially a monitor position. And so if you're not familiar with how the state house works, there are only a certain number of positions that you can take. Monitor is one of them, support, oppose, or amend. And so right now we're trying to kind of get a better look. There's some language in that bill specifically that right now we're just trying to get clarifying information on. The biggest one that the biggest feedback so far in the discussion from Monday is it's establishing a workforce or advisory group. The exact name escapes me. But the Denver Regional Council of Governments has a designated seat at the table. We do not. And so part of that discussion is there a chance for a dedicated representative from our region, or of the ones that have a statewide focus? Can we please make sure that as that committee is being formed, that at least it does have a statewide focus and it isn't just a Denver-centric committee? Because, for example, Dr. Cog is on there, RTD, Regional Transit District is on there. They all have dedicated seats. And so our concern is to make sure that it's not just a Denver committee that could potentially impact us down here. There's also discussion on that bill relating to emergency services. And so I think we've seen this with the California fires in the last week, and just, getting people out if they're dependent on paratransit for mobility, that can be a challenge and emergency. And obviously we are in the wildland urban interface in El Paso County, so that's a concern for us. But as part of that committee, there's no one on that committee with a specific emergency services background or emergency management background. So those kinds of things. Like I said, we're still officially in a monitor position. Whether we move to an amend or something like that is up for the committee to decide.
I would just like to point out that we have a working group that is housing and transit. We'll talk more about our working groups in a little bit, but here are 2 bills that have to do with housing and transit. So thanks for bringing these out, Jared.
I'm good. If you guys are waiting for me to talk, I am good.
All right, thank you, Jared. All right, we don't have Jody for a chair report, board of directors report, and Mike,
I'm kind of standing up here in case you want me to.
do you have anything?
I do. Probably the biggest thing that impacts this committee is that the bylaws were approved as part of the consent agenda. So the bylaws that this commission adopted last month were officially approved. So congratulations on that. The biggest piece on that was designating among your at-large members one person who is that designated rep to the Colorado Commission on Aging. Some other things of note from that board meeting: the board did select new officers for 2025. The new chair is Holly Williams, Commissioner from El Paso County. For awareness, the chair typically, while it is officially a one-term position, they usually are a one-year term. They typically will stay on for 2 years. Not set in stone, but that's been the practice. First vice chair is Eric Stone, Commissioner from Teller County. Second vice chair is Michelle Talarigo, council member from Colorado Springs. Fully understanding that she has already announced her intention not to run for re-election. So that second vice chair position will be filled via the vacancy process later this year. The treasurer is Kelly Case, mayor from Woodland Park, and the secretary is Todd Dixon, mayor from Green Mountain Falls. Everything else at the board level was focused on transportation issues. The biggest one was the long-range transportation plan is currently out for public comment. As well as within that public comment period is also the specialized transit plan in the region, or the specialized transportation plan and the regional transit plan. All three of those documents are available for public comment, as well as safety and performance targets that the transportation folks have to do on an annual basis. Happy to answer any other questions on the board.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Chair report. I'm just excited that we're having so many new faces join our commission. It's going to be exciting to have chairs filled and online folks. Oh, we have Lucy Crandall who has joined us online. Lucy, do you want to introduce yourself real quick? Sorry, I didn't notice you before.
I was sitting in the room for a few minutes, but then decided I had things to do. So I came to my office to listen. But I'm Lucy Crandall. I'm with the Family Caregiver Support. Actually, I'm Lucy Cahill, and I'm with the Family Caregiver Support Center here at the Area Agency on Aging.
Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you.
Lucy's newly married and not used to her married name yet. All right, I don't really have anything else for my chair report. I don't think we have any presentations on deck, and so we're going to talk about the working sessions, item number 9. And the working sessions we identified back in February of 2024 were enhancing the accessibility and affordability of healthcare, creating age-friendly housing and transportation. Number 3, strengthening caregiver supports and services. And 4, promoting social engagement and inclusion. And so we, as a commission, have divided up into work groups, picking those groups that held a interest and focus for different individuals on the commission, and we've kind of shifted the way we're approaching them to date. We were trying to break into work groups during the meeting and didn't really have success with that because of the number of people who were online versus in person. We weren't really able to successfully meet hybrid in work groups. So we've decided to take a different approach to those. in that having those groups meet on their own and report back at this meeting. And those meetings have to be posted, is that correct? Due to the sunshine meeting law. So with that being said, and the new folks that are going to be joining us, hopefully one of those work groups speaks to you, and would love to have you choose one to focus on. And we need a lead from each group. Amy Mitchell was really championing the enhancing accessible and affordable health care, and actually made headway up in Park County. And Penny from Park County, I believe you were instrumental in helping her access libraries and virtual appointments. And I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yes, I'd be
For our
happy
new
to.
members. That would be great. Thank you.
Amy and I worked on coming up with virtual visits inside our libraries throughout Park County. And we actually have the majority of them all set up. I think there's just one more to go. I need to touch base with Rita down there. And I wasn't in last month's meeting, but I believe that Amy also was going to be reaching out to Rita. But I'll touch base with her and get some updates on that. But we had quite a bit of that all set up inside the libraries for the seniors to come down if they wanted to do a virtual visit with a doctor. And that's where we left off.
Great. Thank you for that update.
Sure.
Dayton and Aaron were on the housing and transportation, and neither one of them are here. So, Melissa, do you have anything from them to report on?
There's a lot going on with housing in El Paso County, especially. There can be a lot going on in housing in Teller County and Park County. We don't really have, Paula knows a lot about Teller County, but we don't really have a Commission on Aging member from Teller County right now. So it'll be interesting if we can find one in this upcoming year. We do have a Park County with Penny Everest, on. But there's a lot happening with housing. And Penny Whitney, who's here, she has been having some conversations specifically about some age-friendly housing pieces. And so I don't know if I can put you on the spot, Penny, if you have any updates that you and David Lord and I think the city of Colorado Springs, I don't know when the last time was you guys met, but maybe if you can share with us any updates or information you might have from the conversations that have been happening specifically around age-friendly and housing.
Sure.
Kind of an offshoot of Innovations in Aging when they were kind of finishing up their work specifically with housing, and possibly that work can kind of come into this commission and continue to get worked on. So
Okay.
what might you share?
Well, it's sort of an organically grown collaboration. It really began in the fall with the celebration of UCCS Age Friendly. And I had the opportunity via an introduction from Aaron to Courtney Brown, who's with the city, to meet her and attend the Age Friendly. As we were talking, the conversation grew into the Age Friendly program that the Innovations in Aging had developed, the importance of intergenerational communities, the work that JAWS was doing. And net, it morphed into let's bring people together with the city, absolutely no funds attached, but the idea of age-friendly, interconnected, intergenerational communities is really a foundational part of much of the city priorities and certainly larger community priorities. So that has morphed into a working group. Several people from the city are a part of it. Cheyenne Mitchell was here with the fire department and Steve Johnson. They are part of emergency services care programs for older people. And they're at the table. I'm there representing really JAWS and a more intergenerational. Judy Scott from UCCS and David Lord representing specifically the interests of the housing interests from the Innovations in Aging, Age-Friendly Strategic Plan that Colorado Springs is a designated AARP age-friendly community through 2028. And there is collaboration interest. So the second step will be to meet at the end of this month and really look at forming a steering committee and how can the conversations around housing, the Pikes Peak Housing Network, intergenerational healthcare, the work being done in mental health be communicated and hopefully ending up in new collaborations and partnerships within the community. So I think the good news is the concept of age-friendly is not dead. The challenge will be how do we continue to form effective collaborations and partnerships, identify specific project work or deliverables that we would like to have done, and then make it an actual action plan. So at the very, very beginning, but I think to Melissa's point, this particular commission is going to be a really important sounding board for what's going on and sort of a nexus of gathering a lot of information and help distilling where it can go. So there's a lot of energy right now, a lot of work to be done, but at least we're at a starting point. So thanks, Melissa, for bringing that up.
What determines the extension or renewal of the effective date? It's through, you said, 2028. What needs to be done to continue that?
You know, honestly, I don't know. You may know, Kent, through the work done with Innovations in Aging, but I was aware of the group. I did not actively participate, but I think you have to develop a strategic plan. It's approved and you have to measure what's done. So, Kent, you may have much more information because I know you were actively engaged.
What I'd like to add to that is there's a life per se of when that is effective. So it's like I think we're on age friendly 2.0. And so I don't know if it's every 4 or 5 years.
It's a 5-year.
Yeah, you have to resubmit. And the resubmission is oftentimes based on looking at what you accomplished in the previous plan, what would be moved forward, are there any other things? So it's not just once you have the age-friendly designation, you keep it kind of a thing. You've got to show intent and work within each 5-year cycle to show that you're serious about the plan that you put forward. You're not just saying stuff. So that's basically it.
And I think since age friendly is, I mean, it's a national designation, certainly well recognized in Colorado, and it is one of the primary focus areas of the Colorado Commission on Aging, that using this as a vehicle to keep what El Paso County, Colorado Springs, Pikes Peak region is doing to not only maintain but grow in age-friendly areas is a huge opportunity for us. And my guess is the city wasn't even aware of it. So I think there's a huge opportunity for developing community
Mhm.
awareness. I don't think it's probably ubiquitously understood what age-friendly is and why it's important. So,
Yeah,
opportunity.
I would agree with that. I know the Better Business Bureau has an age-friendly designation, and so why that wouldn't roll into the I don't know. Also, the airport now has dementia friendly. Um, they have dementia lanyards to help um, fly people that are flying who might have dementia that designate them as people who might need assistance. And so just rolling that out into different areas in our community that might help. I think it makes sense to overlap and help the masses instead of focusing on certain areas.
Thanks, Penny. I'd like to just um, call out a little bit here if anyone wants to participate or comment too, because 3 of our members who are in the room, well, our 2 guests who will soon be members, and then Phil, who's a member right now, have some housing kind of experience. And so I'd like to take a minute, um, Madam Chair, if it's okay, and have each of them kind of share a little bit more about their kind of experience in the housing world, and kind of what they do. Um, and I'm going to start with Carolyn because it's a little different in the sense of long-term care communities and your work with long-term care. That's housing for people. And I feel like there's a lot of times where, and our ombudsman here in our offices would remind us of that all the time. I think we sometimes forget about people who are in long-term care. And I don't know that the Commission on Aging has always had a real good kind of focus or thinking about long-term care. I'm not at all saying, Carolyn, that has to be your focus in any way, shape, or form, but I would, if it's okay, maybe share just a little bit about your kind of long-term care experience, kind of from a housing perspective, and the fact that, people call that home. And because a lot of times with age friendly, we're really talking a lot about how to keep people in their homes and how to do work that maybe Phil's going to comment about in a little bit. But I wanted to just maybe start with you, Carolyn, if you would just share a little bit, that would be great.
Okay, I think that's a great point because we tend to institutionalize people that are living in long-term care environments, and thinking of it as their home and from that housing perspective, I think is really important. I was going to answer the previous discussion. The hospitals starting this year also have an age-friendly measure that they have to meet. And so I think that will drive a lot of engagement from the hospitals maybe in this work, if that hasn't happened in a big way before. I'm new to the Colorado area, so I can't speak to what that engagement has been. I'm also excited. I'll be working with the Institute for Healthcare Improvement is going to be coming out with an age-friendly certification for the workforce for individuals to achieve. And we're just starting to work now on the criteria for the testing for that certification. So that's a kind of exciting piece, and I think speaks to how the age-friendly movement and how that is going to continue, I think, to be a priority moving forward. So I guess when you look at housing from that perspective, I have been involved in the housing for 30 years, I guess, to age myself. And I think as we think of person-centered care and really what matters most to people, whether you're living at home or in some kind of post-acute care setting or getting post-acute care services, it is important to think of that, what matters and what your life environment is like.
I just want to comment because I worked in long-term care facilities, and I worked at what was at the time Namaste Alzheimer's Center, which was state-of-the-art facility back in the 90s for Alzheimer's care. And our administrator told the staff that we were guests in their home. That those facilities aren't facilities, those are the people's home. They're there for the duration. it's their home. So it's not our place to make it ours. It's theirs, and we are there as guests in their home. And I tell that to every facility administrator and any facility I get to train, that that's what's wrong with the mindset of nursing home staff these days, is that they're there for themselves, and that's not it. They're there for the people who live, and that is their home. And I remember we even made a video, marketing video for Namaste, and Moira was the administrator, and she was from Scotland, and I can hear her voice even saying, I could see her on the video saying, we don't waken people, they waken on their own. I hear her say that, because we didn't. It was their home. They did what they did when they wanted to do it. And so that's what's wrong, is the mindset of the staff and the administration in making the people conform to what they think needs to happen. Sorry,
No,
I could
the
talk.
challenge of the regulatory environment
it
that
is,
that
it
you're
is.
working in, and words matter. And we have lots of discussions all the time about how we refer to those environments. I mean, they used to be called nursing homes, and then you shifted away from that because people going for short-term rehab didn't want to be,
Mhm.
I'm not going to a home kind of thing. So we got more into that institutional
Yep.
rehab kind of language, but it really takes away from the majority of the people for
Right.
whom it is
Right.
congregate living,
Right.
really.
Yep. Sorry, I could get on a soapbox for hours. I'll be quiet.
Yeah, I think through the work that we've done with high school students in this JAWS program, we had a group in a long-term care community last week, and I debrief all of the students. And the thing that surprises them the most is the realization of exactly what you, Paula, and Carolyn were talking about. This is their home, and it is a community. And I think that is really a powerful reinforcement for the importance of intergenerational perspective in age friendly. It's not a bucket demographically separated by 10 years, 20 years, whatever, but the strength of that age friendly is the intergenerational web. And the group of students that I spoke with last week, I said, if you had a magic wand, what would you do? We will develop a volunteer program so that we can come and visit with the people in their community. These are high school students that are saying that's what we want to do. Nobody's saying, would you like to do that as an extracurricular activity? So I do think Kent and everyone that's been involved in the age friendly, I think we have a huge opportunity within our community to showcase what's already being done, just like you're mentioning, all of these places had age friendly, but what are the standards, and then how do we measure that, and what does it look like? So I think it's pretty exciting what it looks like. I don't honestly know, but I'm along for the ride. So,
well, and I have to say, there are obviously some people in the workforce that do it because it's a job and a paycheck. But the sense of community is really what's built, and I think we don't talk about it enough. And the workforce work I'm doing is really about leveraging that when you're looking at workforce development and retention strategies. I mean, in my 30 years of running nursing homes, I never had an employee leave and say, I'm anything other than what I'm going to miss is the residents and that sense of family.
Interesting thought that just ran through my gray matter. It would be interesting when it comes time for the age-friendly initiative for the county to be renewed and going through that process, to have, before that even occurs, because there's overlaps going on, because you've mentioned the age-friendly initiative for the hospitals, and there's the age-friendly initiative for colleges for UCCS, and the Age-Friendly Initiative for the Better Business Bureau. So, and there's the Dementia Age-Friendly Initiative, all of those. And so my encouragement would be when it comes time for renewal for the cities, that a good hard look be taken at what's being done in all the other age, so that there is, so you don't, you get more momentum when you combine things rather than everything remaining in silos. And so if there's something that one of the age-friendly initiatives is doing that seems to be catching on and has a lot of, look at that and say, okay, how does that mold fit into the age-friendly initiative that we need to do for the city or for UCCS or whatnot? So there becomes more of a cohesion rather than continuing in the silo mentality that we've had for far too long.
I wonder, I just made a note, Paula, that we might kind of look around and see if we find other people in the community who are part of those groups that are still meeting, and see if they want to become members of the Commission on Aging and bring those groups in that way, possibly. We'll have to see. Clearly, we've already got some housing covered. We've got some kind of long-term care, healthcare improvement covered. And so it'd be interesting to see if we get other interests there.
That would be great.
And so I'd like to turn it over to Phil for a second. If Phil, you could share a little bit more about your housing work and kind of what you've seen. And
Sure. I bring a little bit of a different perspective. Yes, the community involvement when folks need to move from home. I worked in home medical equipment and respiratory care for a quarter century or so, and saw quite the need of folks wanting to stay at home. So further specialized, and had a hospice uh, administration background in there. So saw a lot of the end of life efforts trying to stay at home as well. And furthered some education and focus on a certified aging in place specialist, certified senior advisor, and a little bit more of the true nuts and bolts of assisting folks in staying in a residential setting. One interesting thing that's developed recently, I guess several things combined, folks are living longer and folks are having children older. And so we've got much more, and the financial component, we have much more of a sandwiched generation of multi-generations living under the same house. And younger folks can't afford to buy a house, and older folks are wanting to redo basements and things like that to have the in-law suite or the parent suite, what have you. And so you've got folks in their 40s and 30s, 40s and 50s raising kids in the house with mom and dad also in the same house. And I see it more and more and more. And 80% don't want to move into a community. It's when they absolutely have to, with your ADLs and things like that, that they just can't make it at home anymore. So I see the in-home care as almost a aging crisis. With, at one point it was 9 workers per 1 senior, and now it's 3 to 1 per some reports, and pretty soon it's going to be even. And then there's going to be more folks needing care than workers available. And then on my business and the company that I do evaluations for, we do home modifications of grab bars to ramps to stair lifts, all the way up to residential elevators. And people don't blink at putting 5, 10, 50 plus $1,000 into a house when they look at the payback of an assisted living at $3,000 to $9,000 a month, depending on level of care, and the payback of putting that money into their house so they can stay at home. And we will talk further because my obvious fit in this is in the housing part. But as we spoke one time, I'm super interested in the technology part and the telemedicine, because a lot of my dear sweet clientele, it's such a taxing effort to go out and see a physician, or go out at all for that matter. That telemedicine and the technology of your automatic blinds, your lights, your automatic door openers, fall prevention things, and sensors to know if somebody went to the bathroom at 2 a.m. and didn't go back into the bedroom, to alert their loved ones first before 911. So all of those things to assist folks in staying at home. And to kind of wrap this up, the aging in place and the senior plan is kind of like a financial plan. Some have it and some don't, and some react and others plan. And for a lot of people, the cost of the community, unless they fall under a Medicaid benefit and qualify for one of those communities, it's not there. They did not do that financial planning, so their plan is to stay at home. Often these homes have been paid for years because they've been in it 40 years. However, it's a tri-level with skinny hallways and narrow doors and not easily modified. So it's quite a challenge. And that is one of the working groups that I would like to help in.
I know everyone has their stories. My in-laws, 82 years old, are in a tri-level without a bathroom on the main level. Joy. We all have our stories. Okay, well, thank you, Phil. Wanda, share a little bit about your housing kind of engagement and kind of what you're doing too.
I am a local realtor that serves surrounding areas, and so the population I serve is very vast. Been doing it for 8 years, so my clientele's kind of shifted. Older folks. So I would like to talk to you a little bit more about modifications as well. I recently received my SRES, which is the Senior Real Estate Specialist, and it does like a deep dive into the challenges that population faces when they have to move when it wasn't planned. Care facilities, reverse mortgages. It was very impactful. I learned a lot. So everything I'm hearing, I feel like I've heard. So it's really exciting. So.
And the last person I just wanted to pull into this conversation around housing a little bit is Kathy, who is not with us in the room quite often because she is impacted with transportation issues. She and her husband are still at home. And so Kathy, I don't know if you want to share a little bit about your experience and some of the things you've been able to put into place in order to stay at home. But just maybe comment, because I don't know that, we definitely have new people who have not had a chance to meet you in person. And so maybe share a little bit about your life.
Okay. Well, I have MS, and my husband and I both had a stroke 2 years apart. So we're both in wheelchairs. So for us to go anywhere, we have to get one of those buses to pick us up, which is sometimes an issue because Mountain Metro is pretty good, but some of the other ones don't show, or they show up with the wrong kind of bus. So it's a whole calamity. But we have done some modifications to our home, and we have used Phil's company. They helped put in a ramp to my front door, which is great. And we had the bathroom remodeled, the main bath. So it's a roll-in shower. But unfortunately, our wheelchairs don't fit in there, so we have to change to a different chair to get in there, but still it works. And what else have we done? We've had doorways widened, some of them not quite wide enough because my chair is pretty good size. And God, what else? I don't know. We've done 20 that we have grab bars in everywhere.
And you have live-in caregivers at different times, or caregivers in general at different times, right?
I private pay for caregivers. I pay for 60 visits a month. That gets quite pricey, but I can do it. It's about half my retirement check. My husband just got qualified for SSDI. It takes 18 months, I think. Anyway, so we were living just on my retirement for that time. But we manage, and it's not always easy, but we do the best we can. And we try to go places. Now, Mountain Metro will not go outside of Colorado Springs, so I can't go to Manitou, which is kind of sad because I really like Manitou. And we can't just drop in somewhere when we want to. We have to schedule 3 days out, which is sometimes challenging as well. Other than that, though, we are doing okay. It's just, you just have to think ahead and you have to plan. And we are staying home as long as we can.
Thanks for sharing, Kathy. Thanks everyone for sharing your story and your input and your impact on the community. Appreciate it. Group number 3 is strengthening caregiver supports and services. I know Connie's not here, Connie Ryan, but she is a care manager. She helps families navigate services and supports as they need placing, looking for placing for their family members and other services. She is spearheading that caregiver group. And the initial discussion was to have a caregiver symposium, caregiver conference, as opposed to just a senior expo where there were vendors and giveaways and just not a lot of information, but a lot of pamphlets and sales tactics for seniors. And honestly, it's like senior trick-or-treating. And they come around the other direction so they don't think you would recognize them, and they just fill their little bags. But and it's great. I love old people. But we were they were concentrating on a more informative educational support conference, symposium, whatever they were going to call it, for seniors. And she's not here to report on that, but I know that's the direction they were going with that. Kent sat in on a meeting or two, and that's about all that's as far as they got. So I think they were going to regroup and kind of start again. Their biggest thing was finding space, maybe finding sponsorship, and going from there. So. And then the 4th group is social engagement and inclusion. We did have a nice representation from area senior centers, their leaders, and now they are meeting quarterly as a group, talking about what they do in their own centers and what they can collaborate on and what they can share and what works and what doesn't work in their communities, and how they can bring more people in and include people that are maybe afraid of, senior centers, like walking into junior high, again, and it can be scary and it can be clicky, and just how they can be more welcoming and And I could tell you my experience with the Teller County Woodland Park Senior Center is is nothing but spectacular. They are volunteer run, volunteer board. They did that after losing their paid director, and their membership skyrocketed after that. And it is active and vibrant, and they do chili cook-offs and pancake breakfasts and yard sales, and they're everywhere. And so that is a senior center to stop by and visit if you have the chance. So we're looking at working with that group, and I hope to be the liaison to their meetings quarterly. I know they're via Zoom, so and hopefully we can maybe pull some of those folks onto the commission also. So that's that.
I know we've tried with the Teller County people.
I know we have, and actually we did have a Teller County person at one point, so we're good. There's never say
Trying,
never.
right.
Never say never. So those are the working groups. So hopefully the people and the guests are welcome to be. Those aren't just closed groups to commissioners. People from the community are more than welcome to be a part of those groups. Again, they'll be scheduling hopefully set meeting days and times so that those can be posted um, ahead of time so that the public can know about them, and we can get them off to a good start in this new year.
I was noticing the Colorado Commission on Aging, when Penny mentioned the committees, they have the Policy Committee, Workforce Committee, and Mental Health Committee. And so we have these four committees, which are somewhat different than the Colorado Commission on Aging. So it'll just be interesting how, we kind of feed information up to the Colorado Commission on Aging about the four groups that we're doing, kind of see where this work ties in with those three committees. I mean, it's pretty obvious, of course, people want to have, great behavioral health and mental health so that they can have a great house and live a happy life. And I don't know, and Kathy Cirillo Smith can confirm that when she gets transportation, she's much happier. But anyway, so it'll just be, kind of keep that in mind, like we've been trying to figure out the, stronger kind of connection and relationship with the Colorado Commission on Aging, because, the Pikes Peak Commission on Aging really is kind of a part of that. And so how do the groups really all interface with each other? And our committees are a little different, but I mean, we're all doing good work. So I don't know.
I don't think that will be a problem. I think that we're going to find, I'm thinking probably that accessible, affordable, will have a mental health component too, as well as the physical health. And that particular work group is really looking at access for older people. So there may very well be examples of what's going well here. Actually, the chair of that group would very much like to come and visit and learn more about what's going on in Colorado Springs. And so I think that would be something that it might not be during one of our meetings, but we might be able to facilitate some sort of working lunch or something. I think certainly age friendly is an important work group at the state level. I think all of these are going to fit somehow into age friendly. And the workforce, certainly the housing, the workforce, I mean, that is an ongoing issue, the direct care workforce. So I don't know. I guess that rather than for me to be able to say, I want to be a member of this group, if I could have sort of a synthesis role where I float and then put together thoughts and then pass it up and then pass down the ideas that come from the working groups. I'm a member of all three working groups at the State Commission on Aging. I think that could be probably my most beneficial role versus just being involved in one. And I do think that if the city age-friendly focus continues, that could be something that probably, I mean, the area that looks most the best fit is promoting social engagement inclusion, and it's going to include all of these areas. Again, mental health is a city priority area. Housing is a city priority area. Workforce is a priority area for every community. So I think we can be creative and innovative on how we address this.
I agree, Penny, and I think that maybe we could offer them the chance to present, do a presentation via Zoom or in person to us on each of these groups. I think that would be great. But I also see an overlap with our committees on each of these, each of their groups with our groups, because policy definitely with affordable health care, housing and transportation, the workforce, same with all of them, actually trying to get workers trained, workers appropriately trained workers into all of these areas. And then mental health definitely in the caregiver arena, and what they're dealing with. My focus obviously is the dementia piece, but caregivers, whether they're caring for their grandchildren, which I know caregivers who have had grandchildren at birth and have raised them, or adult children or spouse or a parent, children parenting their parents. So that takes a toll on mental health. So I see all of our groups overlapping a lot with their groups.
Penny, in Park County, were you going to share something?
I can, not a problem. I understand exactly what everybody's saying here about overlapping into all the different groups. And our sole mission up at Park County is to keep seniors in their home as best able. We're constantly struggling to make that happen. We have some very diehard people way up on mountaintops who will not come down, and they insist upon staying in their home until the end. And so we try and make it as comfortable as we can. Some days it's very worrisome for us to think about them being up there by themselves, but Jeff and I have taken on a task of checking on people to make sure they're okay, especially through the winter months. So I can definitely understand in every single one of these different groups, how we definitely overlap there. My other big problem is an isolation problem, and I'm finding more and more seniors struggling with mental health. And we're hooking them up with people as fast as we can, but I'm amazed at how many people are out there. That would be it for me.
Thank you, Penny. Does anyone else online have comment? Okay. Thank you for yours, Penny.
Welcome.
All right, we'll move on to our planning calendar. Is that what I'm looking at? Okay. So we did our January duty. Could everyone see the planning calendar on the screen? Thank you for sharing, Jared.
And I can jump in,
Okay.
Madam Chair, a little bit here. This was created shortly after we had the strategic planning that the Commission on Aging did a little while back, I think in like 2019 or so. And again, a pretty large focus was the reminder that the Commission on Aging really did at the time want to interface with policy and advocacy work. And so, how do you do that? And a lot of planning has to go into play long before the legislative sessions go into, open their doors. And oftentimes we were finding that we're doing it after the fact, so the legislative session up in the state just started. And in order to really be prepared for that, we want to actually really be doing that, in the late summer and the fall. And so just planting those seeds with people now. This commission has the 4 working groups, which is really the core of what the group does. But there is still that part about, how do you take the work that the working groups are doing, and is it relevant to policy and things that are happening? And so like right now, Jared, shared about the transit, the transit bill that's happening, and then the property tax bill that's happening. So for the housing and transportation group, there's 2 bills, that are, at this point in time, and who knows what's going to come up between now and the end of the session. And so just kind of keeping those things in mind as the, year goes on, but for the group to also really be kind of thinking about things. You can see March, April, and May. That's, when the legislative session is happening. And so there's really not a lot going on there per se, because really a lot of the real work that kind of should be done is outside of, when they're actually in session, to kind of think about ideas and think about where things need to be changed or whatever, and being able to bring that to the PPACG Board of Directors and really talk about that some more. That might be a 5-year before it's really happening, but just something to think about. So you'll see pieces on there about literally policy and advocacy work going on. But the other thing that I wanted to get on here, the commission also has talked about wanting to do kind of get on the road and go visit places. And, it can be done by doing, hosting the commission meetings out in the communities, or it can be a matter of just maybe going out to a community and having 2 or 3 commission members going and, having some meet and greets out in the community. And because Colorado, we have some pretty crazy weather in the wintertime. We also can have flooding in the summertime. I've been on a road in Park County that flooded in the summer. So it could be a problem then too, but definitely in the winter, we don't want to be traveling a whole lot. And so want to get the idea out, I guess. So 2 things on the table to talk about. One is, pros and cons of taking the whole commission and doing the commission meeting like somewhere in Park County, or just doing kind of a road show where a few commissioners go out. So just kind of curious thoughts, ideas that people have, and especially for you folks that are online, please raise your hand if you want to get involved in the conversation, so that we call on you guys too. So I'll just put that out there. What do people think about, going out and visiting the other communities, which would be various places in Park County, various places in Teller County, Fountain, Calhan, Monument. Those are five places. It doesn't have to be all. It could be 2. It could be all. I mean, I don't know. So what do people think about going traveling?
I love it, but I'm in my car a lot, so I think it would speak volumes to the people and put a face on the commission. And even if it's just 1 or 2 of us, I know most senior centers have a luncheon and a speaker at a luncheon. And I think it would be great to have us in the communities.
I can tell you, we did that with our board meetings. We went for the last 6 months throughout our county and went to the different cities and had our board meetings there. And if you promote it enough, you get people that come in that will give you good comments or bad comments. But as long as you promote it and people know that you're going to be there, and if it's open to the public, that could help out quite a bit. But we did find a good result from visiting all the different cities and seeing everything that was going on and listening to the residents there.
I'll just mention, really, it's up to the commissioners, for sure, to be thinking about kind of what you want to do. I am leaning as the administrator more towards, one or two going and visiting and not actually hosting the commission meeting in another community, because it is hard to get folks to go to those meetings. In terms of the commissioners here, you have to take pretty much a half a day, sometimes even a whole day to go and do that. We've done it with the Regional Advisory Council. Most of those folks are retired, so they're able to actually take a significant chunk of time off and go. Jared brings all the equipment. We kind of set the whole show up because we do have to record things. If we are just doing it with, two or three, if two commissioners are there, we're still going to have to record it. But we can do something that's Jared's going to make a comment.
So just to clarify, so if it's one or two, we're in the clear. It's three is when it triggers the open meeting requirement. Now, if there's a desire to record it, regardless whether we post it as an open meeting, which requires three, or we record it with just one or two, say we're doing a presentation at a senior center lunch or something like that. If there's a desire to record it, there's still some involvement because we have to worry about audio, we have to worry about cameras. There's some other steps involved with that, as opposed to a full-blown meeting, which does, we're doing a site visit, we're making sure we've got equipment. Luckily, these meetings do not occur, say, back to back with another meeting. And what I mean by that is we do have some meetings that happen here where, one meeting's at 9, another meeting's at 1. It's just hard when we have a lot of those meetings. So it is an option, but yeah, if it's one or two, that takes the open meeting part out of it. Go.
And Jared, if we have three, we don't have to record it. We just have to post it, right? I'm so focused on the fact that we videotape everything, but we don't have to videotape it. We just would have to post it.
We would just have to post it. So for open meetings law, it just says if we can reasonably expect at 3 or more to attend and commission business may be discussed, that's really kind of the criteria. If we're going as commission members, then we can probably safely assume that commission business is probably going to be discussed. But we just have to say that 3 or more members of the Pikes Peak Commission on Aging may be attendance at this location at this time. And that's it. It just gives the public the ability to say, hey, listen, I'll go, or something like that. I always like to use an example of a ribbon cutting. And so if you are being invited as a Commission on Aging member to the ribbon cutting of a new facility, and we expect 3 more to be there, we would notice that. Whether commission meeting is discussed or not, but there is that potential. So, but no, we do not have to record it.
Which helps a lot. Thanks. Other thoughts or comments about taking things on the road?
I would support that. I think past experience has always proven that what gets talked about gets done. So actually being able to showcase information might be a good way of recruiting interest for participation, which would be a good thing. And there's substantive information that the commission is involved in that I don't think most people are just don't have as a regular part of their information access. And so I would absolutely agree that it would be valuable.
I forgot about the recruitment part. So good reminder.
All right, great.
So I guess, kind of an action item for this is really potentially at next month's meeting to be thinking about, uh, you know, where the commission might want to go. And, do we try to do 3, visits this year? Do we try to do 5? So maybe be prepared to think about that, and talk about it at next month's meeting and where people might want to go. We've got kind of the same old places that have been, visited in the past. Jody shared with me that the Guffey Library, but again, we don't have to worry about recording so much. But they have kind of a whole recording setup now up in Guffey. And so just maybe for next month's meeting, be thinking about where would, the commission want to go and, kind of which months we would want to try to make that happen so we can get that on the calendar sooner rather than later, because my experience has been before you know it, it's August and we haven't gone anywhere. So planting the seeds now.
Well, and I know that the Teller County or the Woodland Park Senior Center has a lunch regularly where they have a speaker. And so I can talk to Rose about that. And also the Aspen Mine Center in Cripple Creek also has a lunch where they invite a speaker. And I can see I'll check into both of those and see what their schedule rotation looks like and if they have scheduled speakers and if we can get in on one of those. And if we can, we'll book it, and whoever can do it, we'll do it. Okay. All right. All right. Does anybody have any announcements? Anyway. No announcement. I know Kent is hoping the Chiefs get into the Super Bowl. He can't stop. I'm surprised he took his stocking cap off. He's been wearing it. I think you sleep in it, don't you? Okay. All right. So, anybody else have anything? No? Our next meeting is February 19th. We'll be voting in new commissioners, which is exciting. And Aaron hopefully will be in touch with Kent. And anyone is welcome to our executive committee meeting, which meets on the first Wednesday of the month. That is always Zoom. And if you're interested, Melissa can share that link.
And Kathy will for sure be on that link. So Kathy, mark your calendar for February 19th at 8:00 in the morning.
No, February.
Thanks. That's the commission meeting. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that
The
would
first
be
Wednesday.
February 5th, I believe. The first Wednesday of every month at 8.
Great.
And does anyone online have anything to add before we adjourn? Actually, do we have items for next meeting? We discussed the election. What else do we have for next meeting? Hopefully I'll have some dates for Teller County speaking.
Yep. Any other where and when's to go. And I think for the most part, everyone on the commission can probably expect some outreach from me about what committees you might want to be on and possibly even setting potential dates for those committees or those work groups. They're not committees, work groups to meet. So I foresee myself doing that. And then of course I'll do an orientation for the 3 new members. So
One thing we talked about at a board meeting this morning was just having the chance to just get to know each other um, off topic here, and just getting to know each other on a little bit about, so each other, you know. Some of us know each other outside of this and some of us don't, but it might be nice to um, just know a little bit about each other as we move through this, because it's all business and Zoom right from the start till the end. And so I don't know what that would look like if we close the meeting and then just visit for a minute or two afterwards, or I don't know what people think about that, but I just thought it might be nice to do an icebreaker or something like that. So think about that. You don't have to do it today. Put you on the spot.
icebreakers at the end.
Icebreakers. With a little something in the glass. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. All right. I think that's it. We can adjourn the meeting. We'll see you next month. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.